Welcome back. Colin Receiver here with the Patient Attraction Podcast. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to tune in, to listen, to learn, to grow, to prosper, to figure out what do I see the top 1% of dentists doing around the world that are attracting more and better patients. And I hope that some of the value, some of the tips, some of the advice, some of the experience that I have, I can share with you. And you can implement it. You can take this knowledge and implement it. You can swipe and deploy this into your practice and make a difference today, tomorrow, next week, next month. Because that's why I do these. We don't do any kind of advertising on our podcast. There's no reason that we do these podcasts other than just to help dentists see what real marketing systems, patient attraction systems, how the little guys, the fee-for-service practices are able to beat the DSOs, the corporate dentistries, the big guys that are coming in and playing Gladiator in the dental arena right now. So this finishes up. This is going to be the last day of our 4-day look at the state of dentistry. And I just want to do a quick recap here. Day one, we talked about the state of dentistry. We talked about new grads and what we see with older grads that are delaying retirement, and some of the facts from dental economics study that shows the number of dentists projected out over the next 25 years, or till 2025, I'm sorry. Second day, we talked about how to market yourself and how to find your niche, where to position yourself. Yesterday, I talked primarily about becoming the expert. You know, if you're a specialist, you've got and you're reliant upon referrals. You know, those are two conditions there that are separate, because we work with a ton of specialists that go direct to market, and they aren't reliant upon the good old boy referral system as it has been in the past. GPs are stealing the referrals for themselves. They're doing the work themselves. Yesterday we talked about becoming the expert. How do you develop that trust and become the expert if you don't have a referral, or if you're a GP and you need to go direct to market? How do you build that trust so a patient comes in and is comfortable laying down $5, $10, $20, $50,000 in 1 or 2 visits with you to do a full mouth restoration or to do Invisalign or whatever your niche is? Realize if a patient has pain, if they've got an emergency, that's not what we're dealing with here. That's easy. And most of those patients are going to be exactly what they are. You're going to get them out of pain and you're never going to see them again. So today, what I want to finish up with is I want to talk about how do you take everything I've talked about so far, the reality of the situation, the marketing, the positioning, the USP, the expert status, and put it together to really dominate, to truly dominate your market area. And there's a number of studies out there. I want to quote some stats to start with. And I won't get too deep here because I know I'll lose people if I just start running off numbers. But these are a couple really, really important statistics that really make up the meat and potatoes of what you need to realize in a practice, in a service-based business. Number one is the National Sales Executive Association says that 90% of sales close after the 7th touch that a salesperson has with a prospect. And I know nobody likes to hear that sales word, but we're not selling used cars here. This isn't this. Every dentist I've ever talked to, whenever the sales word comes up, it's like I've taken the Lord's name in vain sometimes. It is an ugly word in the world, because you have used car salesmen, you have snake oil salesmen, and that's what we all think of when we hear the word sales. But we're all selling ourselves. We're selling ourselves, and you have to sell yourself to the patient so that when the patient hears your treatment plan, they understand and they believe you that what you're telling them is in their best interest. You know, there's plenty of bad dentists out there, or hopefully not plenty, but there are a few that we've read about in the news that try to peddle procedures to patients that they don't need, that aren't in their best interest. So what I'm talking about here is ethical selling. You've got to position yourself so that when you talk to the patient about what they need, what's in their best interest, They trust you. They believe you. And that's ethical selling. That's the kind of selling that I'm talking about here. And 90% of your sales are going to occur after you've talked to that prospect 7 times. 7 times. Most dentists, when I say that number, they kind of look at me like I have 2 heads. They don't understand that it's not really you talking to them. It's not you physically getting on the phone or being in the office and talking to them. What it is a piece of communication, some kind of communication that you have with that. And I'm going to come back to that later. I don't want to get too off track talking about one piece of the puzzle here, because what I really want to talk about today is the whole system. This whole system, how it works together to dominate your market area. And, you know, the first piece of the puzzle, anytime you're talking about sales funnels, ethically selling again, you're talking about sales funnels, you have to think about, where am I going to get my leads in? What's the entry point at the top of this funnel? And the entry point, the top point is, of course, your advertising, your media buying, your TV, radio, billboard, newspaper, SEO, pay-per-click, magazine, anything that you're doing that gets eyeballs, buys eyeballs, is the beginning of the funnel. Now, all too often for dentists, I see that they do advertising and then they have no system behind it. That's it. They put an ad out there, they shotgun the ad out, and they put some special offer in there, some discounted price, some $1,000 implant, abutment, and crown special offer, and then they wonder why nobody ever responds. Well, there's no trust. There's no relationship. There's no expert status. There's just a piece of paper with your name on it saying you've got a great price. Well, somebody's got a better price. That's the problem with advertising price, is somebody always has a better price. You know, the funny thing about Amazon is most people believe that Amazon made their living selling based on price. And that's actually not the truth at all. Amazon does not have the lowest prices on most of its merchandise. Now, yeah, they have a few what they call loss leaders, where they sell something at a greatly reduced price to get somebody in the door. But Amazon primarily has not made their money or gained their market share based on price. Largely not. They have gained their market share based on 2 very important factors. One is their commitment to their customers. I know if I buy something from Amazon, they're going to stand on their head to do a couple things for me. And number one is I'm going to have that package on my doorstep as fast as humanly possible. Now, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you know that means 2-day turnaround. If you're not an Amazon Prime member, well, you know, there's options for there. But even as a Prime member, I still get stuff oftentimes the next day. I've ordered stuff at 2 or 3 in the morning and gotten it that afternoon and just paid for next day shipping. They have an incredible fulfillment operation that they run, and that is their specialty, is warehousing and fulfillment, because the faster they can turn that around, the more money they make. So first is their fanatical commitment to customer satisfaction. They do that by shipping. They do that with returns. They give you a credit back on your credit card before they ever receive returned merchandise back. As soon as they see that UPS number get scanned for the return shipment back to them, they credit your credit card. The second thing they do, the second thing, I kind of touched on it already, is their fanatical customer support. So the first thing they did, I got these come fungled together. The first thing they do is they guarantee you to get it within the time period. And the second thing they do is their fanatical customer support with returns, with lost shipments. They'll just ship you out another one. They'll take the loss. If something breaks in the mail, they don't hassle you. There's no games. They just ship another one out. That's how they've built their empire. And what you have to do as a dentist is realize that you're never going to build an empire based on the best price. Somebody always has a better price, especially the ones with the bigger powers of economies, the corporate dentists, the DSOs, the big guys that have the kind of buying power that you don't. And when you are trying to market yourself into the marketplace, how do you dominate it so that you get in front of these prospects, you get them into your funnel, but you got to do it smart. You can't just shotgun everything against the wall like a large DSO can saturate a market area. I call it Gladiator Bidding, where you get these big dental chains that come into an area and they drop $20,000 in a weekend on pay-per-click. They drop $50,000 over a period of 2 months on saturating billboards, radio, TV, and they just buy patience through powers of economics. You know, the reality here is he who can pay the most for a new customer, a new client, a new patient, he who can pay the most wins. And if you're trying to attract the same kinds of patients that the corporate dentistry chains are, the DSOs, the big guys, you are going to lose because you can't afford to pay as much as they can for a new patient. That's the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about here. You've got to retool and think about who are the patients that appreciate value, who are the patients that are going to want to come see me versus some no-name white-faced dentist who doesn't know them, doesn't care about them, and is working off a quota. You know, that's a completely different kind of practice that you're dealing with there. And you've got to realize that patients that have previous bad dental experiences, that have had fears, that had to white knuckle it in the dental chair when they were a kid, they don't want that experience again. They're deathly afraid. My wife just went to a new pharmacy. She's a pharmacist, I mentioned a couple days ago, and she just switched. She's been at Walgreens for 12 years, and now she has switched, and she's at a little local private pharmacy here where we live, New Albany, Indiana, Louisville metro area. And she came to me a couple days ago, day or two ago, here very recently, and mentioned a conversation that they had had inside their office, that of this 35-person pharmacy, none of them have been to the dentist, or very few of them have been to the dentist in the last 5 years. They're all deathly afraid of the dentist or have some kind of fear of the dentist. And this is reality. This is the world we live in. People are afraid of the dentist, and they're not going to go to the corporate dentist because there's no compassion, there's no empathy, there's no relationship. Trust starts with relationship, and you got to know who you're dealing with to have a relationship with them. If you're going to market yourself to these large elective case patients, that's where you have to start, is start with you. Start with, why are you doing this? Why are you different? And oftentimes what I find working with dentists and talking through this conversation that we have is they do care. They are empathetic. They do truly want to give that patient a better dental experience. They want to change the perception that patient has for dentistry. They truly want to help them. And that's all things that you have in your favor that corporate doesn't. And that's really where you have to start with your marketing, is realizing that you've got weapons they don't. Yeah, they have weapons you don't, but you also have a lot of weapons that they don't. And when you put your marketing out there in different places, you've got to be able to leverage the right kinds of, I'm going to call them pain points with your prospects, because that's really what they are. These things are pain points. They don't want to be hurt. They have fear of the dentist. They have fear of dying with their teeth in a glass. They have these fears, whether real or not. Fears are fears, right? And we have to deal with them. And when you put your marketing out there, you've got to focus on the relationship. What do you do that's different? Well, you can handle all their dental care all in one place, all in one visit in some cases. That's a very, very strong message. If you're an implant doc, you've got CAT scan, you've got the ability to do, essentially all their dentistry in one visit, provided they come in and get their molds taken and you make the teeth, the prosthetic ahead of time. Yeah, I understand that, but this is the marketing angle. This isn't about, is it really one visit, or is it really two visits? Or is it really three visits? Because they have to come in for the consult, and then they have to come in and get impressions taken, and then they have to come back and get, say for instance, an all-on-4 protocol done. Well, okay, but you're truly getting your dentistry done in one visit. Let's cut through the semantics here. You've got to impress upon these patients that you're the expert. And when you do that, when you become the expert in their eyes, then they trust you. They trust your judgment, your prognosis for them, your diagnosis, and they're going to say yes. So how do you dominate your market area? Well, a couple different ways. First off, all of your marketing is very synergistic. The more places you can be seen by your prospective patients, the better off you're going to be. It's all very synergistic. Just like I said, it's all very synergistic. When a prospect sees you in the newspaper, they hear you on the radio, and they see your ads online, and you're following them around, you're retargeting them, you've touched them 2 or 3 times. What did we talk about at the beginning of the podcast? You need to touch these prospects 7 to 10 times. And when you've got 2 or 3 different marketing mediums going on out there, you run something in the Sunday paper, you've got a radio ad that runs a little bit, you've got some pay-per-click and some retargeting that goes on online, and maybe you do a direct mail blast once a quarter to supplement to a very targeted demographic. Now you've hit them 4 times. Okay, so now they see your advertisement. What's next? This patient isn't going to call you and come in for the appointment. Let's just walk through how these patients think and what kind of path they follow. The patient's not going to come in and immediately schedule a consult with you just because they saw your advertisement. This isn't 1995. The patients don't have to come in to get to meet you, get to know you, and get to like you. They don't have to call you. They don't have to schedule an appointment. They don't have to do the free consult. They can do all this without ever contacting you. They've got this thing called the internet that Al Gore invented. And it's this phenomenal tool that allows people to go online. They can read your reviews. They can watch videos about you. They can see what you have to say. They can read your biography. They can check out your Facebook page. I just named 5 things there that your patients, your prospective patients, are going to do before they ever dial your phone number. 5 things. 5 very common things that we all think about. If you look at Google's ZMOT study, the Zero Moment of Truth they called it, it was a phenomenal study that they put together a few years ago. And what it found is that patients used to have 1 or 2 moments of truth, and then they made a decision. They made a buying decision. They took 1 or 2 sources of information. They took a TV ad, and they saw something from Sears Roebuck in a magazine talking about buying a new Craftsman tool set, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And they had 1 or 2 moments of truth, and then they made a buying decision. Nowadays, the average consumer references 10.4 sources of information before they make a buying decision. And this is fundamental to this consumer's path, your patient's path that I just talked about. These patients, before they ever pick up the phone and come into your office, they're touching you 8 or 10 times. The consult is not the chance for you to impress upon them how great you are or what you can do or that you're the expert. The consult is the validation. The consult is the creme de la creme, the cherry on the top of all the other research they've done before they ever step foot into your practice. And this is your opportunity to seal that Ziploc bag, to close it. You've got a full bag. They're there, they believe you, they've seen all your stuff, they've heard from your existing patients, they've seen your testimonials, they've watched the videos, they've read your reviews, they've checked out everything that you're about. Now is your opportunity to sell them, to ethically sell them, to show them how you can change their life for the better. This is your chance right here. And that consumer, that patient, your prospective patient here, these are not consumers and customers and clients. Let's make it really, really real. These are your butts in the chairs, or your lack of butts in the chairs, as it may be. When that patient calls your office, you have to get them in. You have to get them in a reasonable time span. If you're not scheduling your patients in under a week, you are losing patients. Plain and simple. If you're making your patients schedule out their first appointment 2 or 3 or 4 weeks out, you are losing money. You are losing new patients. You've got to save room in your schedule to work in new patients. Now, if you don't have room in your schedule, there's one of two problems. Either you've got efficiency problems in your office, or you are truly at capacity. The doctors that are truly at capacity are the very, very small minority. Of all the practices I talk to and work with that say that they don't have any room in their schedule for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks out, I would say less than 10% of them actually are at capacity. They have inefficiencies in their office. They're doing too much. They don't even realize the kind of efficiencies that they can pick up with systems in their office, with better management, with a motivated staff, with an excited staff. These are the things that really, truly, you go into a practice and make a big difference. And they don't even realize that things were as bad as they were until they change. You know, it's like when you start running and you start exercising and you start losing weight. You don't realize how bad you felt, truly, until you lose that 20 pounds. And that's what I'm talking about here. So you dominate your market area. They go to your website. You've got free reports. They've got information on there. They can download a 20-page free report on how implants can change their life. You've got 20 emails that are pre-written and pre-scheduled, completely customized to your office, that are going to be sent out to that prospect that downloaded that free report over the next 3 to 6 months, maybe 12 months even if you want. And you're going to keep your name in front of this prospect, because realize a buying cycle with large elective case dentistry, any kind of discretionary income is going to have a larger, longer buying cycle. You got to keep your name in front of these people. You've got video testimonials. You've got a killer website with great content that ranks highly when they search for Dr. John Smith reviews, Dr. John Smith scam, Dr. John Smith lawsuit. These are the things your patients search for when they're trying to validate who you are. They search for your name, and they search for lawsuit. They search for reviews. They look, they dig, and they try to find, is this really the right guy for me? Does this guy have a skeleton in his closet? They don't find it because you got so much good stuff. You got great SEO on your website. You got articles, and you've got directory listings. You know, we use a piece of software that allows us to manage about 200 different directory listings, control duplicate listings, manage your reviews, reputation management, all these things, because this is the meat and potatoes of what patients see online. Your website, the SEO, the videos, the autoresponders, the Infusionsoft, the free reports, the educational-based marketing. You got to educate your patients. Anytime you can educate a prospect, they become a much more qualified lead, because now you have taught them. You become an elevated source of information. You become an expert when you teach somebody, right? And they also become an educated prospect, which is much more valuable to you. You know, when they already know what implants can do for their life, when they already know how you can change their life, now your job becomes a lot easier. So you've done your marketing, you've done your TV, your radio, your billboard, magazine, newspaper, SEO, pay-per-click, whatever it is that you get your eyeballs with. You get them onto your website. You show them the email marketing, the free reports, the great website, the content, the social media, the reviews, all the things that they go through when they're going through this discovery process to find out if you're the right dentist for them. They call you, they set up that appointment. And here's the next important step. If you're going to dominate your market area, you've got to know what's working. You can't make a huge investment in your practice and hope. Hope is a bad way to do marketing. You've got to know that it's working. We use our Zetetics call tracking system. There's many phone call recording programs out there. We have a true end-to-end ROI tracking system that allows us to not only record all of the calls that come into your practice, but we also have a whole team here at SmartBox that listens to every call. Let me explain to you why I did this. We've had call recording for many, many years, and we recorded calls and reported to doctors on how many calls are actually coming into their practice. But the real breakage that we found in our system is that most doctors don't have the resources, they don't have the time, they don't want to listen to every call that comes in through the call recording software, right? You guys don't have time to do this. You're practicing. You got busy lives. You got families. You got extracurricular activities. You got sons and daughters that you're going to dance recitals and soccer games. Your front office. You're running lean and mean, and you don't have time to listen to 200 phone calls last month and figure out where your marketing is generating new patients. So what I did this year is I hired and trained a whole team of people here at SmartBox, our call quality analyst team. And the CQA team, all they do is listen to your calls for you. You have these call recordings coming in. You're having these new patients call in. We listen to your calls for you, and then we give you the report on how many new patients came from each marketing medium, how many new patients scheduled, how many new patients your front office staff was not able to schedule. And then also, because we are a telco level provider, we have data on how many calls your staff is not answering at all. And probably of this whole process, we've got so much data, an incredible amount of data from listening to 500 practices over 6 months even, that I know what averages are for a practice to be scheduling or not scheduling patients. We set our goal at 90%. We want your practice to schedule 90% of the patients that actually call in. Now, I know from all of our clients that we've listened to that we have very few that are scheduling at 80 or 90%. Very, very few. The ones that are due are the absolute rock stars. These are the 1%ers of dentists. But even more interesting information than the percentage of patients scheduled is the percentage of phone calls that go unanswered. Now, this really shocked me. I've got practices that literally during business hours are not answering 50% of their phone calls. 50% of their new patient phone calls are not being answered during business hours. And it absolutely blew me away. One of my practice consultants about a month ago sent out an email that said, "Answer your damned phone." And it actually offended a lot of dentists. But the intent of it, if you actually read the email, the intent of it was a little bit of an edgy headline for a study that we did that showed that the biggest problem in a lot of practices is not the marketing, it's not the clinical side, it's the fact that they don't have dedicated front desk people. The front desk people are overworked. They don't have enough phone lines, and during peak hours, you only have 2 phone lines, and during peak hours, you're bouncing off new patients because you need 3 lines. You need another person at the front desk between 11 and 1 because that's your peak call volume. And we find that most dentists are not prepared to answer their phones. The most simple thing has been what we found is one of the greatest detriments to dentists that really want to grow and expand quickly. They just need to answer their phones. Now, that's not to say that no dentists have bad marketing. I see plenty of dentists that don't have new patients coming in, that their phones aren't ringing at all. But realize if a dentist is already working with us, they're getting boatloads of phone calls. We guarantee it. Not only do we just give you a soft guarantee that, yeah, we guarantee your phone calls, we back it up with cash. We have our $10,000 guarantee that if we don't send you the number of new patient phone calls that we promise you, we'll give you $10,000 cash and let you out of the arrangement that we're working in. It's real simple. If we're not doing what we say we're going to do, I'll write you a check for 10 grand and send you on your way, and you can keep everything we did for you. And that's how we have used this data to not only justify the packages and the patient attraction systems that we get together. There's nobody else in dentistry that does it to the level that we do it. And I don't say that to be arrogant. I anybody that really knows me and has sat down and had a bourbon with me, as we do here in the Louisville area, knows I'm a humble guy from my dad's a dentist, my mom's in sales. I don't think I'm anything special. I think that my experience of growing up in a dental practice and having a techie marketing background and having a mom in sales has just given me a unique perspective on the world that I've found some problems that I think other marketing companies have either willfully or accidentally overlooked. And I think the problem with a lot of other marketing companies out there is they focus on that one thing, right? So you have your one guy that builds you a website. Maybe he does some SEO. And then you got that other company that does your pay-per-click. And then you got that other company that does your TV or your offline ads. And then you want to do email marketing. So you go get Infusionsoft and you do some email marketing. And before you know it, you've worked with 5 or 6 or 10 different places. You've got a discombobulated hodgepodge of marketing materials. You've got no system that works fluidly, and your patients are falling through the cracks, and you don't have synergy with all of your marketing materials. You don't have a system that moves these patients down the path of how they're thinking. And ultimately, the biggest thing that we do is we align our goals with that of a dentist. You know, dentists don't want hits and clicks. Dentists don't want pay-per-click dollars and advertising in newspapers and magazines and billboards. What dentists really want is new patients, right? I mean, dentists became dentists to do dentistry. I mean, that's the most common thing I hear from dentists is, gosh, I wish I could just, had patients in the chair to work on and I didn't have all these other hats to wear. And we have completely focused our business, SmartBox, on letting the dentist do dentistry, on delivering the reports and the stats to dentists that dentists want. They want to see new patients coming in. They want butts in their chairs, and they want the reports that show that the marketing that they're doing is generating butts in the chairs, or they want the marketing to be axed, right? And that has been our unique perspective into the market to what we have found. Our best dentists have told us they love is that we do just that. We think like dentists. My dad's a dentist. I grew up in dentistry. And everything we do is tailored around how do we make a dentist's life, the sole practitioner that wears 7 hats on a daily basis, what can we do to make their life easier? Yeah, we can do marketing. If you're an SEO company and all you do is SEO, then, you start to become the hammer that, when the only tool you have is the hammer, every problem looks like a nail, right? That's the only solution you have. When you have perspective into the profession, into the industry, and you understand how the marketing plays a role for dentists, then I think that gives you a unique perspective into what you can provide as a product or a service, as we do, that genuinely helps those people. So dominating your market, you've got to have these systems across the board, from your visibility, your conversion, your follow-up, and your tracking. That's the real beauty of the patient attraction system, is from start to finish what you're putting in and what you're getting out. And when you do that, when you put it together synergistically and you walk patients down this path, this consumer's path, this patient's path that they follow, you close more patients. You have more butts in the chairs. You have higher case acceptance rates. You have less no-shows and cancels, because the only ones that are scheduling appointments with you already see you as that expert. And that's the beauty of the patient attraction system, is that it covers all your bases for you. You don't have to wonder if there's something else out there that you need to be doing. This all makes sense. It's logical, and it walks down the path. I appreciate you joining me for this 4-day look into the state of dentistry and how we see our elite level dentists, the top 1%ers of guys around the country, dominating their market areas right now. I'd love to chat with you more. I'd love to hear from you guys listening out there. Click reply to the email. I read every email. I may not be able to reply to everyone, but I do read everyone. If you've got questions, if you've got suggestions, if you've got information, if you want us to look at what a patient attraction system that can double or triple or even 6x your practice looks like, click reply and let's start a dialogue. There's no commitment, there's no hidden traps to talk and look at what we see in your practice and put a proposal together that could really change 2016 and beyond for you. So I appreciate your time. I look forward to talking to you. Keep moving forward.